Hey guys, Sandro here from Carcraft Auto Detailing in Melbourne. Today's video is geared around some further testing with CarPro's new top coat Gliss. Some of you may have seen the video review I did on Gliss about a week ago, which is a more in-depth review of the product and a first look at it. But today's video is based on how this product behaves when it's applied over various products and surfaces, from bare paint to ceramic coated paint and both CarPro's Essence and Essence Plus. Also, just to let you know, this panel I'm working on has been fully decontaminated, and I'm just giving it a further light polish to both ensure it's completely clean and bare, as well as correcting some lighter defects in preparation for this test. Now, one thing I should have stated in the original review is that CarPro recommend using Gliss either over their ceramic coatings or bare paint, but don't recommend using it over Essence or Essence Plus. And I have said in many past videos that the manufacturer's recommendations are always a good place to start. But part of what I do as a detailer and enthusiast is try and experiment with most products on test panels and my own cars to see if I can tweak and discover more about them to make better use of them in a wide range of circumstances and situations. The truth is that no manufacturer could ever test their products in every scenario to answer all the questions we may have about them without spending years on research and development and perhaps going broke in the process. So many of you will know that a large percentage of the information we have about the thousands of products out on the market is due to individuals further testing and experimenting with them and then sharing that information. And many of the fantastic off-label uses of these detailing products is a result of that very thing. But at the same time, I want to acknowledge that CarPro do know what they're doing and that there is reasoning behind their recommendations. Overall, in my experience, almost every single wax, sealant or top coat in general always performs better and lasts longer when applied to bare paint in comparison to being applied over another product. This is nothing new and something I've discussed in the past and in many of the comments below my videos. The thing about paint protection, whether it's a wax, sealant coating or something in between, is that in general it has surface repelling characteristics, which is largely why it's so effective at protecting your paint and not allowing environmental contamination to bond to it as easily as it would to bare paint. The downside of this is that it generally doesn't allow other paint protection products to bond to it as well as they would to bare paint, and it may to some extent affect their characteristics. But at the same time, if you take something like a sealant with a wax on top of it, the combination of those two products will generally last longer than the sealant or wax on its own. But if you're just interested in getting the best life and behaviour out of a single product, then it is true that in general you will get that by applying it to bare paint, or perhaps in this case even a coating. Now, you may have noticed that I use the words in general a lot in the last few sentences, because this is very generalized information that is subjected to the specific products and circumstances. Each wax, sealant or coating is different with varying base ingredients and solvents, some of which will work better together than others. And almost everyone works differently with varying methods, techniques and levels of attention to detail. So although I do find much of the chemistry and science behind these products really interesting, informative and useful, my judgment is always going to be based on how that translates to real-world conditions in what I personally see and experience, rather than what a label says and what controlled laboratory testing reveals. And I want to repeat a piece of advice that I give out all the time, which is to judge and test things for yourself and let that determine what works best in your world and addresses your needs. All I can do is share my experiences and advice, and if you've seen a few videos on this channel, you'll know that I'm not one to shove my opinions down your throat, but rather give you options so you can decide what's best in your circumstance. So I do hope that clears up and explains my reasoning, along with where the manufacturer is coming from, and I do appreciate there is two sides to it. I was actually really keen to see what difference Gliss will present in the way of its look, feel and water behaviour when applied to these 4 different surfaces. But the longevity and durability results will have to wait a little longer for the future video update. There will perhaps be the 12-month Julietta QV update in just over a couple of months or so. So as you can see, the test panel has been divided into 4 sections. The 3 base layers of Essence, Essence Plus and C Quartz UK were all given 4 hours to cure before the top coat of gliss was applied to them and the bare paint. And then a further second coat was added an hour later and the panel was left indoors for a week to fully cure. A lot of things like look and feel are pretty hard to capture on video, so the water behaviour will be the main focus. But having said that, the paint looks and feels great all round, just like it did on the Giulietta, and I'm really hard pressed to see a visual difference from one section to the next. But I would give a slight edge to the 3 sections on the left, displaying just a touch more depth to the finish compared to the bare paint. Now, I did my absolute best to try and capture the water behaviour as best I could, using a few different water dispersing techniques, from showering, using a single stream and misting the panel. So I do hope the footage allows you guys to see a clear picture on how the water is behaving. And there's also some super close-ups using a macro lens on each section that you'll see in a bit. So I have to say at this stage, I'm really struggling to see any difference in the water behaviour from one panel section to the next. It's looking and reacting quite fantastically on all sections, and by my judgment, at least at this stage, I can't see any diversity in the way of water contact angles, sheeting, or any water behaviour whatsoever. In any case, it was interesting for me to try this out, and I did want to address the issues that some people had with the original Gliss review, which I hope I was able to explain my reasoning. The bigger test for me will be in 3 months, seeing if there are varying changes between the test panel sections over that period, but even more so will be the testing of Gliss on the Giulietta in relation to its protection of the paint and longevity in that same period. In the end, the videos I do are just one piece of information and a perspective that I have to offer, which I hope, together with all the other information out there, helps you make good, well-informed decisions. Now, by nature in my work, I am a very precise and methodical detailer, but the road I took to get to that point was full of experimentation, trial and error, and it never ends. The only real difference is that I'm perhaps sharing that process a little more these days, which does open you up to a little more ridicule. But I want to also say that no lives are at stake, as I'm not performing life-saving surgery, and I prefer to have fun and enjoy experimenting with detailing rather than being so serious and critical about something like testing a new product. Yes, I do want to get the most out of it and pass that experience on, but I don't want to be afraid that me diverting from the instructions is going to cause others to be in an uproar or have a panic attack. I know that if I was to share every experimental technique and idea I've had in the past, it may cause some of you to question my sanity. But it's led me to some great discoveries, it keeps on inspiring me to become better at what I do, and it keeps detailing fun and interesting. And if or when it's no longer enjoyable or interesting is the day I hang up my polisher. As always, thanks so much for watching, please like, comment and subscribe to show your support for this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.